Perfect New World is a new MMORPG that's being developed by Ironcore Game Studios and published by Ironcore and Perfect New World Games. Perfect New World is an Eastern-style MMO where you can step into the shoes of a soul tamer and go on a quest to find the reincarnated Prime. What's a reincarnated Prime, you ask? I have no fucking idea. Maybe it's Optimus Prime.
Let them come.
Anyways, they say that Perfect New World will be a seamless world experience with no loading screens, and that it's open world. Well, we will see about that when it comes out. I first discovered Perfect New World on Steam, like 7 months ago. I did not see videos of it, I just so happened to run into it while looking for games to play in that genre. When I first saw it, I immediately thought that it was an Eastern MMO that was made in either China or Korea, and it was being repackaged for a Western audience. Now, that was my assumptions just from looking at it. I had no previous knowledge of the game, nor who the developers were, and turns out, I was actually pretty damn close. My assumptions were not that far off. You see, when I first found the game, I looked up who was developing and publishing the game. And of course, it's Ironcore Game Studios. Then I looked for any of their previous works and I couldn't find any. So then, I wanted to find out where their base of operation was. And the only thing Google would tell me was that Ironcore was based in Onalaska, Wisconsin. Unfortunately, it was the wrong Ironcore. This Ironcore is a business centered around network support, data recovery, and software crap. So I turned to ChatGPT, and it told me that Ironcore Game Studios has its roots firmly planted in the digital soul of Taiwan. Turns out that Ironcore Game Studios is just a studio that was made to create Perfect New World. The original studio is a studio by the name of Perfect World Games. They're based in China and they have published quite a few games. They're actually the publishers of Tower of Fantasy. For those of you that don't know, Tower of Fantasy was supposed to be the Genshin Impact killer, but unfortunately, the only thing it killed was itself. Now, Perfect World Games was the developer and publisher of Perfect World, the MMO. They were the ones that made and released Perfect World International, which was basically just Perfect World, but for the rest of the world. That version was released on September 2nd, 2008, as an open beta, which would be over 2 years after the original released in China. Anyways, now that I dumped some information on you, I would like to talk about my first impressions with the game that I've seen so far. And the game so far seems to be pretty good from a visual perspective. The landscapes look amazing and beautiful, the world looks like it's pretty big, the combat looked great. And from what I've seen so far, it makes me think that the combat is going to be like Blade & Soul's combat, which I loved. By the way, I made a Blade & Soul video if you want to go check it out real quick after this. Up to you. Anyways, the bosses look great. I have no real complaints, visually at least. The flying looks pretty good, the mounts look decent. The fish mount is probably the coolest mount I've seen so far. The foraging, mining, and fishing in the game look pretty generic at first glance. While this video did say they have this thing that helps you with collecting rare herbs and shiny rocks, they literally called it a thing in the video.
We have this thing for collecting rare stuff like herbs and shiny rocks.
But I'm assuming it's some sort of pet. Now, guilds in the game have a base they can hang out in. And it seems pretty lame because all they have said about it was that it can be used to gather members and strategize the next big moves. That's what they said in the video they posted at least.
But it's their HQ for gathering and strategizing their next big moves.
Oh, and they said they could challenge each other to PvP by doing 1v1s, tag teams, or free-for-alls. And if that's really all there is to the guild base, then not many people are going to use it. Now, I'm assuming you can do those PvP activities with people that are not in your guild, even though they literally said they organize thrilling showdowns amongst themselves when referring to the guild members. But I think they may have just worded it wrong when talking about it, at least I hope. But I will say that the tag team stuff has me intrigued because Blade & Soul had a tag team arena, and if it's anything like that, then it will probably be a lot of fun, because I know me and my friends had a blast doing some tag team battles in Blade & Soul. Now, they also showed off this dungeon called Skycrest Mine. Well, there's cars that you can ride and have to dodge in order to get to the boss. Now, I don't have much to say about this dungeon since they did not show much of the fight or even the dungeon itself, but it looks cool, I guess. I don't know. We'll see if it's good or not when I get to play it. They also showed other small stuff like puzzles, parkour, and chests you can loot, which again, I don't have much to say on this stuff other than I'm not a huge fan of puzzle mechanics, but I don't hate them. The parkour stuff is just parkour stuff, nothing much there. It's the same thing with the chest. But I will say that the city they call Dracopolis looks amazing. I love the aesthetics of it. It's futuristic while keeping the old style Chinese architecture. It just looks really good together. Now, there are only 4 classes so far that I know of. These classes are obviously locked behind gender and race. Those classes being Gale Blade, which is female only, Berserker, which is a furry male only, and the Mystic Sword and Dragon Spear classes are male only as well. So if you're a warrior slash berserker type of person but not a furry, then too fucking bad, because in this game you can't have one without the other. I personally don't give a shit. I think the Berserker looks pretty cool, and if that makes me a furry, then so be it. I'll get me a fursuit right now and put on some adult diapers. And then I'll go to a furry convention and shit in my diapers and leave them on cars. That sounds like a good time to me. Anyways, now of course I could talk more about the classes and go into it a little more in depth, but I don't feel like it. And I also don't want to end up making this video that was supposed to be quick, 15 minutes long. So I'm moving on. Now, I have no idea when this game is going to release, because if you Google it, it will tell you that the initial release date was supposed to be May 4th, 2023. And of course, we are way past that point. Now, they are having a test this month on the 14th, which is really soon. Because of that, it's probably safe to assume that Perfect New World will be released sometime early next year. I will be playing the test, so expect a video on that. Oh, and I would probably go and play Perfect New World International if I can, to see what it's like. Now, my hopes are not going to be that high on it, since from what I have been told, it's very pay to win. But of course, that's to be expected, especially for Eastern MMOs that are that old. But I would still love to try it out and potentially make a video on it, especially before Perfect New World fully releases. Alright, that's it for now. I hope my rambling did not bore you much. If you liked the video, please leave a like, and maybe a comment on what you think about Perfect New World and whether or not you're going to play it. Till next time, peace.